please stand. We'll begin with the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. This evening is August 8th, the time being 6:30 p.m. We do have a public hearing that we have to do first of all for the vacation of the easement. You all should have received a copy of the map for that. Any questions on that before we open the public hearing? If not, take a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Jamie,
Second.
seconded by Kevin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the public hearing is open for the vacation of the alley. Let me pull that up here. It's for off of Tyrell. It is a non-street vacant. Ron or Mark, do you want to tell us about it, I guess, since I don't have it here?
Okay, it was something that was created early on in the subdivision. The property owners actually have, the one house is partially built on the easement. It's never been utilized. They approached us, I think at the council meeting back early in the year. I've worked with Chris Stevens a little bit as they have, and they've got a petition before you, and I have the property owners here, and if you'd like to hear from them, they'd be happy to come up and speak to you.
There aren't any utilities or anything in it?
There's no utilities. There's utilities along the road. Matter of fact, right in the middle of the easement, there's a street light. It's put in by the developer. There's a handhold that you couldn't drive through without hardly missing it. And it's deep and large. So I'll let them talk.
Good evening. I'm Darren Peters, my wife Lisa. The easement was already there when they built our house. We didn't realize it, I guess, until after it was done. Don't really see a need for it there. It's 12 feet on our side, 8 feet on our neighbor's side. He was going to be here, but something came up and he couldn't come, so he wanted me to take care of it for him. The petition we have out doesn't affect the way it's already worded in the rules you already have in place. So we'd like to get that vacated if we could, due to I would like to put in a storage shed, maybe extend a fence, whatever. His fence got blown over during that straight line wind, and they haven't done anything with it yet until we found out what was going on here. So, thank you.
Is anyone else here to speak on this topic? If not, take a motion to close the public hearing. Motion's been made by Jamie, seconded by Byatt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The meeting of the Greensburg City Council is called to order. At this time, please silence electronic devices to comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The city requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that's available on the table in the back of the room. Amy, would you please call the roll?
Jamie Kane.
Here.
Rick Ensweller.
Here.
Kevin Fleetwood.
Here.
Diana McKenzie. Here. Darrell Foley.
Here.
You all should have received a copy of the minutes from July 11, 2023. Any edits, additions, or corrections? If not, take a motion to approve those as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made by Kevin, seconded by Byatt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Abstain.
Those opposed? An abstention from Darrell.
No, it's not here.
Old business 2023-11, which was the additional appropriation from rainy day. This was for this money that we had parked there last year for Park Road. Any questions on that? Second final reading of 2023-11. Anything? If not, entertain a motion to pass that as presented.
So moved. Second.
Motion's made by Rick, seconded by Jamie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ordinance 2023-11 is the creation of the designated outdoor refreshment area. There was a question that Rick had proposed last time about residential units. I did provide some information to you all in email about that. It's a little bit of an oddity. I talked with Ames Legal Counsel, and I talked with Chief McNeely, and I don't know that we have an issue with that. We do have to submit it to the state for review as well, and then we can make some progress on it. My ultimate goal is to get it in place by the Fall Festival, but once it goes to the state, we don't know how long it'll take to get back their approval, so we will see about that.
Question though, I guess that came up, does it have to include sidewalks? Can it just include the road? Like as it's going down Washington Street?
It would probably have to at least extend to the back of the public right-of-way, because you still can't have it, you can't have open containers in vehicles, so you would have to be out of the travel lane for it, would be one thing. Signage of that becomes quite complicated because you have to provide mapping and signage on coming and going for the district. So I think it would have to include sidewalks at the bare minimum. Any other questions? Concerns? If not, we entertain a motion to pass as presented and get it shipped off. Or if there's changes.
So, may I, one thing I will just tell the council, to just as kind of general information, this is a new enough feature and function. You're going to see ultimately modification to criminal code statutes or to other things that are going to affect the concerns that you have raised here as far as, look, I'm walking out of my house and I'm on one side of this imaginary line and I'm breaking the law, and I'm on the other side of the imaginary line and now I'm good. You're gonna see as cases start to progress, the development of law that's going to encompass your concerns. So because I thought a lot about Rick's questions last meeting after we left, and one, realistically, I don't see a lot of prosecution in my other hat as a public defender for our county. I don't see a lot of prosecution for open beverage or open container law. What you're more likely to get is the situation where someone is truly publicly intoxicated, and that is going to be different than what's going to happen in a DORA type situation. Additionally, I think you're going to see the development of at least case law, if not actual statutory code provisions, as this sort of ages and you see the development of the law around it. So to alleviate your concern, I think it will probably be addressed as the DORA process progresses. So that's just my 2 cents, because you pay for it, so.
Okay, it's appreciated. I guess maybe a thought is, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how I want to word this, but and I don't know if this creates an undue burden either on you, Chief, or anything, but if we were going to, I guess, cite somebody or ticket somebody or enforce this law, is there a way that maybe we could communicate that to the council through an email or something? At least let us know. That way we're aware of how it's working, and that way if we have concerns, maybe we may want to address it, right? If we're not aware that how we're utilizing this. And I'm not trying to create extra work. And I agree, we're probably not going to use it except in extreme circumstances, but
And what I would say is, in terms of statistics of criminal charges,
Yeah.
one, it wouldn't ultimately be the police department that would make the determination of charges anyway, because that's made at the county prosecutor level. So all we would necessarily be doing is potentially citing someone for it or recommending a charge. But criminal statistics would be available to you as the council. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend including it in the ordinance, because the more stuff you put in the ordinance, the more stuff there is to fight about.
I'm not asking about the ordinance.
Yeah.
No. I guess I'm just, and I'm not even asking about, like, if that instance, maybe like, we did use this, and we had to ticket somebody for this, or we had to address it, and here's the situation, versus, that way we could make the consideration, do we need to make an adjustment to the ordinance? No,
No,
yeah.
and what I'd say is I think you're probably gonna find those statistics are gonna start to be developed by the Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Council and, you know, things along those lines as they work with AIM on a more global statewide level. But I do think those statistics would be available to you if you would want them.
If it becomes an issue, to readdress it, is the way kind of you're asking, right? If we run into something.
And sometimes maybe we may not know that it's an issue until it's an issue, right? I mean, and so I guess I was just trying to figure out how do we maybe get alerted earlier on in the stage. That way, if it becomes an issue, we can address it more quickly, that's all.
What I've read, council has privilege to stop any time.
Sure, yeah. It's an ordinance created by this body, it can be revoked by this body. Yep. I agree with Chris, I think we're gonna see a lot of changes come from the state that probably help clean this up a little bit. Good questions, comments? Any further discussion or a motion? I think it's worth trying out. Let us try it, and we can tweak it, make adjustments, alter it as needed.
I'll make motion to approve 2023-12 from the second reading.
Second.
Any further comments or questions? Motion's been made by Kevin, second by Jamie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Motion passes 4-0 to 1. Ron May, City Engineer, Ordinance,
Real quick, this says, the meeting agenda says it's 2023-12, but I think if we go into if I'm looking in here, I think it's 2023-13, is that right? Or do I have the wrong one?
Vacation of an easement.
Well,
Well, that's
on
an
here,
ordinance.
if I go into the DORA on what's in the folder, it's got 2023-13, that's why I was asking. I'm gonna open it up, maybe on the inside it says something, it doesn't have the number on the inside.
It should not be 13, because 13 is the easement.
In the folder, it says 13, but you're right, sorry.
or is it 14? Or 12?
It's 12, isn't it?
It's 12. I think it's 12, but it's just, when I was looking in the Dropbox folder, it showed 13,
Yeah.
sorry.
We believe it to be 12. Yeah, okay. Okay, 2023-06, which is the vacation of the alley for the First Christian Church. This was here a couple of months ago.
It's been 2 months. It was omitted on last month's agenda. It is the alley running west off of Broadway between Central and Hendricks. It is starts at Broadway, goes to the first north-south alley to the west. The Christian Church owns property on the south side of that alley. They own property on the north side of it. And their current parking scheme is to park in the alley. So you passed this on first reading in June, and it's back on second reading.
I'll make a motion, we pass 2023-06 on the second reading.
Second.
Motion been made by Jamie, second by Daryl. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? You're opposed? Okay. 4-1. As discussed, so moving to new business, as discussed last meeting, the Veritas Group is going to join us kind of every other month. I've got a short PowerPoint that they've provided that sort of runs through the same items that they would typically present to us. So once this comes up, where's it worked in the first meeting?
It's nice.
It's better.
I wanna go there.
It's better.
Vacation spot there.
Take shows pictures on your machine trip.
Yeah, right. Site work update, the retention pond, which is there in the bottom left corner, is at depth and continuing to work. We did have a meeting with them late last week. We talked about some of the final finishes to that, and that the building pads are in. You can see the street department closest to us, and we'll see those in the other photos. There's, John made comment last month that there was no stabilization needed, which was a great piece of this puzzle. And storm sewers are going in. There was a kind of between the two driveways, you can see some of the concrete structures for that laying out there. They've been on site for a while and have been going in. Fire station, footers and foundation walls have been going up. You can start to see that as just by driving by, you can see the foundation that they're pouring. They will start going vertical with some concrete block in the stairwells sometime relatively soon. Steel's supposed to be here middle of next month. All of that is on time. The furniture component continues to procure. He did talk about the switchgear being a little bit longer lead times. We did have a conversation about the generator last week in our meeting. We opted to keep the decibel level lower, but we did make some concessions on other non-really important pieces of that to help accelerate the timeline. The building can't open without it. We just would obviously prefer that not to happen. Street department, you can see the foundational layout, the building pad, building offices will be on the right, storage will be on the left. The two pads that are in this photo are the salt barn and the outdoor storage for garbage trucks, snow plows, things like that on the very far left of the photo. Runabout is on site pretty consistently, and they're continuing to make really good progress. We have a meeting with them every 2 weeks as well. We do a meeting with Meyer Nasium, who's building the fire department, and then we have a meeting with Runabout immediately following, who's doing the street. They don't have any concerns about lead times for this building. The roof structure and most of the steel is already out there. It's in a pile, so it's ready to go up when the concrete work is finished. No change to budget, and we remain on schedule for the spring of 2024. And here's our monthly drone footage. It's kind of starting in that same location with the retention pond and the building that's still there. And then the space closest between the pond and the end of the footers will be the exterior space for the street department. The items that are stacked up across the driveway on the very far right side of the frame there, that's actually the roof for the street department. So that's how that's all stored. And you can start to see the parking lot pad being laid, sidewalks there in the middle between the two facilities. And then fire station, this end is the administration on first floor, living on second floor, truck bays closest to Broadway. Any questions on that?
Do you know how deep the retention pond is?
I do not. Do you know how deep the retention pond is, Mark?
I was going to say 15 or 16 feet.
It's also built so that it will hold water, and then fire can do ice training in it, which is good. It's kind of part of a training facility, if you will. It's dual purpose. So that's it. John may know that question next month too. Okay, anything else on that? First item, Chief McNeely, request for appropriation of the police vehicles.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Counselor. So I sent you guys a letter outlining that I need some additional funding to replace a vehicle that was deemed no longer usable by our insurance adjuster. Insurance adjustment came back at $19,000 on that vehicle. We thought it was a little low, so we reached out to our insurance company, and they are looking at that, and we believe Julie Herbert from the clerk's office and I have been working with them. We believe we're going to get actually a little bit more back from them to cover that. I also provided some quotes that I received on police vehicles, and the also outlined in the letter as well of what we think would fit the position the best for our department moving forward. And so what I'm looking for tonight is support for additional appropriation in the future to replace the amount that we're going to pay out of our vehicle, new vehicle expenditure line. I do have 3 vehicles on order that I'll need to purchase later as well, and that's why we need to reimburse that line if you so choose to approve the additional appropriation.
That'll be the difference between the 43,410 and whatever we get back for the other vehicle. That'd be the amount of the additional appropriation.
Yeah, so I think we could ballpark it around 24-ish. I do not have yet quotes back from my outfitters for lights, siren, and command box. So I'm waiting on that to come in as well. I should have it in time for the additional appropriation to come up next month.
Part of the oddity for this is we can access a vehicle currently, right? And so trying to...
In today's market, there's just not a lot of police vehicles available. They're hard to get.
Previously,
all vehicles are hard to get.
Previously, this evening, the Board of Works did authorize the purchase of that if this body is supportive of that additional appropriation in the future. We don't need the funds right now. Correct. We can backfill those as we go forward, but that's the question is, are you supportive of an additional appropriation later in the year that would pay for this difference? Okay, a positive thumbs up. We don't need a vote.
Right.
Just
They've got it sitting there. I mean, it's a need, and I'm telling you, 2 weeks from now, it may not be sitting there.
Right.
These police Tahoes are.
And I'm hoping it's still sitting there because they wouldn't commit.
Yeah, I mean,
they wouldn't commit to hold it for me, but.
And you're not going to beat the price from Kelly. They've got the state bid.
would we entertain a motion, a vote of confidence for that?
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion's been made by Jamie, seconded by all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, perfect, thank you.
Before I talk about National Night Out, Jamie, to your point earlier, anytime you guys need any statistics about anything general like that, just let me know. We can get them pretty quick to you if you have questions about that. And then the final thing on National Night Out in August 17th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. We will be in North Park again. If you have the ability to come, we have some gracious neighbors that are allowing us to do some parking to alleviate some of the parking issues we had last year, as well as we're going to utilize the north part of the field for our vendors to be able to park, to also have some more parking. I know that was something that we really ran into last year. I think we have 25 or 6 booths that'll be available. We got all the emergency vehicles, a couple helicopters coming in, a big obstacle course, and food and music. So please come out and see us.
So that's 6 p.m.?
5 p.m. to
5
8 p.m.
5, okay. Thank you.
It is Brothers McGee. Thanks.
Up next, Sarah Hamer, Building Commissioner, with Ordinance 2023-14.
Good evening. Ordinance 2023-14 is amending to the building code regarding the administration of fences in accordance with the building code. At this point, we have not had any permitting or anything like that for fences within the city. We have discussed this and feel that we need to oversee fences that are being put in. We have a lot of fences go up, put in the wrong place, 6-foot fences being put in front yards, and that kind of thing. So that is what this ordinance is just amending it to the building code.
And if I may, so Sarah approached me with this question of how do we better regulate fences? Because realistically, her office already regulates fences. I mean, if someone has an improper fence, they'll receive something saying, hey, your fence is not, necessarily meeting the codes and provisions of the city. and then it would have to go, and there's an appeal process through the BZA. There's just nowhere within our ordinance where we've specifically said that fences fall under the definition of a structure. So the way our code is written, there's a definition of a class 1 structure, and there's a definition of a class 2 structure. And there are other things that have been added to specifically say, for instance, like pools are specifically added and defined as part of a class 1 or class 2 structure. So the easiest way to bring fences under the overall ordinances and the enforcement of the city is to simply amend the definition of a class 1 or class 2 structure to say that a fence built attached to a class 1 or class 2 structure is part of the structure. Which generally speaking, most fences are going to fall under at least some attachment point or near the building that they are associated with. And so I thought that was the easiest and least confusing way of trying to do this without going through and rewriting multiple different code provisions throughout. The plan department already has the authority to cover anything that's related to the building code. They already have the enforcement component. They already have the permitting requirement. We just needed to add something that says a fence is part of the structure, and that's what this does.
This doesn't clearly state that we're doing a permit or you have to apply for a permit. It says that they may require the attainment of a permit.
Correct. So we are going to require permits now. We will not charge for that permit, but they do have to come in and fill out a permit for that. Once they are complete, they will call the office. I will go check the fence to make sure it meets the code. We are not going to send the building inspector out. And so I will go inspect the fence once it is complete to make sure that it meets the code and where it's supposed to be. And this way we have better knowledge of the fences going up. It will take a little bit for people to get used to that because we've not had anything for fences before. But yes, there will be an actual permit, but there'll be no charge for the
Should we
permit.
change that under number 3, that instead of saying the building commissioner may require to, the building commissioner will require or shall require?
You can. I left it as a may to give you flexibility for the future, because once you make it a will or a shall, it's not really debatable anymore. So I didn't know if there would come a time, particularly since we will be going through and changing as we go through the UDO and the Unified Design Ordinance and all of that various stuff. I didn't necessarily want to lock you into a position. I mean, you could change it to that.
I'm just wondering if that verbiage though puts us in a position where, well, this person didn't have to get a permit, this person did, and now we've not standardized a process, and technically we've met our ordinance, but we've not really standardized.
I mean, that's a fair debate that comes with any ordinance drafting. I always give myself the out, but if you don't want the out, that's on you.
We have a lot of those types of things that give that leniency to department heads, in that they may issue a fine. There's very few instances where I think you shall issue that. So I'm not sure that that's uncommon.
Yeah.
And I don't know, even the building permit may say may. I don't know.
I don't recall off the top of my
I
head.
don't remember that one off the top of my head. I was just looking at that, and that's what, that caught my eye when I was like, so are we doing a permit or not? And that's the point that I was.
Well, and what I would say, Jamie, is at least my thought process in writing it was that would fall more within the administrative decision-making of the planning department. So if that became an issue, I don't think you can piecemeal. Like, I don't think I could say, look, I'm requiring a permit for Bob, but I'm not requiring a permit for Jack. I think we're just saying, look, we can permit if we want. We don't necessarily have to, but once we've made an administrative policy that this is what we're going to do, that's what we'll be bound by. Yeah.
Any other questions?
A permit will be required to put up the fence.
Yes.
The main issue that we're running into is we have people that go out and build fences, and then their neighbor says their fence is in violation, and it is. and then they have to tear down their brand new fence. So we're trying to get ahead of that so that they can come in and say, I want to do this. No, you can't do that, you have to do this. So that they're not buying the fence, putting it up, tearing down the fence. Because as you might imagine, that doesn't lead to positive conversations typically.
This way we can answer all the questions when they come in to apply for the permit. We get the address. I mean, if they live on a corner lot, they have 2 front yards. You can't have anything over 4 foot in your front yard. So if you live on a corner lot, that would be your 2 front yards, you know, each street front. So a lot of people don't know that. So this way we just have a little bit more control in answering the questions that they may have to make sure they understand, but we're not going to charge them for the permit.
Is there a way we can get that communicated throughout the city?
Yeah, how are we doing that?
We can, maybe, can we get that on our website, or, yeah, I would say on our website we can get that on there. And then maybe on the radio at some point here soon when the mayor's on the radio.
That would be
I'll do a live.
You'll do it live?
I do it all the time.
2023-14, motion to approve as presented.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made by Daryl, seconded by Jamie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Okay, thanks,
Thank
Sarah.
you.
Okay, 2023-13 is the vacation of the alley that we had the public hearing for. Is there any other discussion or comments on that? The easement, I'm sorry, vacation of easement.
I guess my only question would be, has there been any resistance to that from other neighbors? I understand we had the public meeting, but
They were all contacted by certified mail. Nobody responded. The only call I'm aware of,
The only call I was aware of was the adjoining property owner that wanted to get on the process of getting his taken out next month on the other half of it.
okay.
So there's been nothing negative.
2023, is there a motion to approve that as presented?
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I believe we would need we didn't do the first reading before, did we? This is first reading.
First
Do we
reading.
want to, can we suspend the rules? I'll make a motion, we suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'll make a motion that we pass 2023-13 on the second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Heavy trash.
August 21st through the 25th. We're going to use the same guidelines we did last fall and this spring. They both seem to work really well. Didn't have a lot of issues. Just a reminder to everyone, there will be no brush pickup. There will be no yard waste collection that week. Staff will be busy taking care of heavy trash. We'll return back to normal the following week.
I have a question.
Okay?
What, did you have it in August last year too?
Yes, ma'am. Has been for several years.
We do May and August, right? After summer's help and summer help.
I think it started 2000 and,
We've been doing it for a while.
17.
Yeah.
I believe it's 2017. We switched to May and August, and it's been that way ever since.
Any other questions for Mark? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ron May, City Engineer, Ordinance 2023-15, which is the stormwater management ordinance.
Good evening. You have before you a new proposed stormwater management ordinance that would replace our existing stormwater management. The motivation behind this is the work that's been going on with our MS4. We were helped in drafting this by our consultant, Christopher B. Berg, who has been working on all the MS4 work and other things. They are also the author of the LTAP Stormwater Management Guidelines. The important thing here is that the ordinance is adopted in accordance with statutory authority granted to the city and is required by Phase 2 of the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System Stormwater Program under 40 CFR Parts 9, 122, 123, and 124, and also authorized by the 1987 amendments of the Clean Water Act, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management Municipal Separate Stormwater Sewer System, and General Permit MS4, and the Indiana Department of Environmental Management Construction Stormwater General Permit. That's a long way of saying this is being driven by federal EPA and IDEM at the state level. The ordinance is a lot more intricate than the previous ordinance. There's a couple of major changes. One is our current ordinance basically regulates an acre or larger land disturbance. This ordinance will generally take that down. That acre will come down to 10,000 square feet. The ordinance also places more emphasis on post-construction maintenance activity of stormwater features, specifically land disturbing activities to control erosion after the construction is completed. It places responsibilities on major projects to provide maintenance for their features like a retention pond or the BMPs that they talk about. And it further requires that those organizations have financial resources so that they can take care of what they have. We have a lot of, in theory, homeowners associations throughout the city. Many of them are inactive and not funded. So it's going to require them to maintain escrow accounts. It is something that has to be faced. Maybe not this exact language, but we are going to have to do something to stay in compliance with all of the MS4 work that we're behind on and have been for a bit. We're catching all that up. It's not just Greensburg. The state of Indiana has been behind on all this, so it's happening statewide. One thing in reviewing it, Zeke and Sarah and I have been through this literally word by word by word. It was a somewhat arduous process, but the need to make the changes are inevitable. Do they have to be this version? No, but I think this positions us very well going forward. And while we're making the change, I think of it a little bit of ripping off the Band-Aid. It's just better to do it and get it over with and not have to anguish over it. There is a companion document, I think you were provided, the Stormwater Technical Manual. The thinking is that the technical standards will be adopted by the Board of Works if you adopt this ordinance. So that will actually come before them. That is the technical component of this and how you do all of these things. There is one thing I think is probably missing in here, and that is an implementation date. I think we didn't get that in here. If you want to pass this on first reading, I think we can, before second reading, include an implementation date. Depending on the amount of discussion this gets, I think realistically that could be the 1st of January 2024. Be happy to attempt to answer any questions.
Do you have your fee schedule yet?
No, there needs to be a separate fee schedule adopted. We have whatever we have in the current ordinance. I would assume it will be somewhat in line with that. One of the things that's likely to change is we will likely, at least on the first few submittals, use consultants to review. They're going to be something we're less familiar with as well. and that cost can be passed along to the developer. I think these would be adopted by the council. So you're gonna get to see those whenever they come forth.
I think it's also worth noting this is a model plan.
Yes.
It's not like we just dreamt this up. This is a pretty standard that's being used in other communities.
As I said, Burke wrote the statewide model ordinance and technical standards. They helped us draft this. I think this is likely to be very much in line with what is seen throughout the rest of the state. It's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little more work.
Save headaches in the long run.
It's the wave of the future.
Any other questions for Ron? We will eventually look at the fee schedule, and we can include, I think the January 1st implementation date is
The only reason I
accurate.
would think that's maybe not the best, if this gets involved in a drawn-out process, and all of a sudden it's our December meeting, then I might think a month or two later, give everybody a chance to know what it's gonna be for sure.
In that case, is there a motion to approve 2023-15 on first reading as presented?
It is not eligible for,
Make a motion.
Motion's been made by Rick. Second by Daryl. Any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Thanks, Ron and Zeke and Sarah, for all your hard work on that. I know that wasn't an easy lift.
It wasn't a fun lift.
The council has the annual appointment to the Lilly Scholarship Essay Review Committee. That is back on the table. I have served in that role for the last few years. But if somebody else would like to take on that community engagement effort, you're more than welcome. But the nomination letters due this month. I'll do it again if you want, but if somebody else.
Second.
Not everybody run at one time. Motion's been made and seconded already. Are there any other nominations?
Nominations are closed.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I look forward to doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a great opportunity for youth in the community to receive some funds. And it's really interesting to see what they write about. A few items to note before we do our committee updates. You all received a copy of the 2024 Greensburg Community Schools budget. Please take a review of that. That will be on next month's agenda as well. It's a reminder that tomorrow's budget workshop is at 6 o'clock. We will be in the multi-purpose room down the hall. And an announcement for the council that will be made more public tomorrow is City Engineer Ron May has tendered his resignation effective towards the end of the year. So he will be retiring from us, and so we will be on the pursuit to find the next city engineer, not a replacement, but the next city engineer. So we will put that out tomorrow. If you know of someone who is a professional engineer, please send them our way. And final thing as a reminder, State Representative Jenny Meltzer for District 73 is with us this evening. She's joined, and she looks forward to the opportunity to chat with all of you afterwards. Those of you in the audience that haven't had an opportunity to meet her, I would encourage you to do that while she's here. Jenny, thank you for being here and for representing us in the State House in your inaugural year. And we look forward to working with you going forward in the future too. So thanks again.
Thank you. Happy to do it.
So quick updates from the committees. Jamie, Board of Works.
Josh gave the update on the fire department, street department project. Chief McNeely came. We gave the approval for the purchase of the vehicle that we talked about tonight and talked about National Night Out. Assistant Chief Dave Rozelle came, and we made the offer of conditional employment to a candidate for the fire department. And the fire department actually, not on here, but the fire department's in the process of taking applications through September 1st, I think. So, and I believe we have one open position right now, right? that we haven't filled even after this conditional offer. Yeah, so if you know someone, just sharing that one. Basically, there was a sewer water adjustment Donna brought up to us that we approved for a leak. And then Zeke came basically explained what was going on with the Vine Street project, gave us an update there, gave us an update on the Franklin Street project that happened, and then we approved the purchase of an equipment building. And that Ron May came and talked about basically got approval for an agreement with Strand for city design standards. And then heavy trash, we talked about heavy trash, which we already talked about. That's really it.
Rick, anything from Main Street?
They had a good meeting. The Women in Business Conference, they had a real large turnout. They said it was a good conference. Main Street's events will be published in the Travel Indiana and Festivals Guide next year. So look for that. Discuss DORA again. Farmers Market, August the 11th will be a National Farmers Market Day. Farmers Market's going good. They had a lot of them sell out the last one. And then Market of Mills, they had 80 tickets total to sell. There's still tickets available as of the meeting, but I don't know where they're at now. The fourth Friday, they had a real good turnout. Had, I think, 25 or 30 car show and music. They had a lot of people listening to it. And they've got one more fourth Friday in August.
Also today, we did receive notice that Main Street has been awarded a $4,000 Indiana Landmarks grant to help with some study work done, or needs to be done, to the building that we own on South Franklin Street. So Rose applied for that to help find a way forward with that building. That will probably come back to the Board of Works yet this year to kind of figure out what we're going to do with that.
And
But
they are still working on the Jokes building.
they are, yeah.
So it is still in progress.
Have anything from Plan or?
We did not have a plan commission meeting, and the EDC meeting is Thursday of this week.
Okay. Solid waste, Vida?
There's an e-recycle event this Saturday from 9 to 11 for your electronics. If you want to get rid of any electronics, you can take those out to the fairgrounds from 9 to 11.
Daryl, RDC.
Short meeting, 3 items. The residential development area, we kind of hit a snag there with Beacon. I think most of you know Beacon has opted out kind of the 11th hour, so we are exploring our options there. The RDC property marketing program really has not got any traction as of yet. Is still being marketed. We have a 6-month contract with this gentleman from Indianapolis. And then finally, the multi-use path that we're talking about going over State Road 3. We expect Reedy to come in, or it's
Structure Point.
Structure Point, I'm sorry. We expect them at our September meeting with recommendations.
We had a meeting with them last week. That's getting pushed back a little bit, probably more like October, I think. We're going to do another committee meeting with them before, but good progress is being made.
So where that?
Yep, that just happened yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Anything else, Daryl?
That's it, thank you.
Perfect. Just a couple of these. The Chamber of Commerce just wrapped up their annual golf outing. Very, very well attended, probably the largest they've ever had, which was great. Lots of community support for them. The Animal Control Board is getting a couple new members. There's been some resignation, so there's some shifts happening over there, and good progress is being made. As a reminder, September 23rd is the airport ribbon cutting. I encourage everyone to come out and participate in that. It's a great milestone for the community. The terminal is under remodel and hopefully will be wrapped up by the end of this week, early next week, so that would be a really good addition as well. They've got grooving of the pavement to happen by the end of the month, and it looks like everything's going to be on schedule, which is really, really great to hear. Anything else? As a reminder, please hang around. We'll have conversations and chat with Representative Meltzer.
Budget meeting tomorrow.
Budget meeting tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Take a motion to adjourn. Motion's been made. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow.